unbelievable gifts and give you water to drink. But when you see the truth as it is, you're just getting drunk off the gifts while drinking polluted water. If that's not necessarily a proverb that basically defines what Vshojo is, especially what has happened now, I don't really think there is other better ways to really put it, if I'm being honest. Which is hilarious considering I just made that up on the spot, which kick-ass proverb if I do say so myself. But when it comes down to it though, as you probably have clearly have seen, yeah, Vshojo is beyond cooked. They are basically the unseasoned blackened chicken that is within a white woman's freezer because they don't want their husband to find out because they're gonna be shamed and dip off and leave her ass because what the hell was that? Basically, Vshojo, I guess like the people that's running it, essentially took all, or at least not all, but like half the money from the immune deficiency charities, and like, you know, when they trying to raise the money for it, they basically took like over $500,000, like $500,000 basically, a little over $500,000, which is, I assume, the reason why so many talent has essentially left. Because think about it, you had like tons of other people with the contracts, you know, saying that there's probably something weird with the contracts. That's probably the reason why they left as well, or at least that was the reason why they left. And now other people that kind of wanted to dip off, like as in Treya recently, and now today with Ironmouse. Yeah, I totally get it. Granted, there was always something funky and weird about Vshojo as an agency itself, considering the fact that they've always felt like they had some weird stigma about them. Granted, the first stigma was just the fact that, you know, a band of these, you know, VTubers that most people, you know, at the time was insanely jealous for, basically went out their way to not necessarily care about that group because they just, you know, thought it was just not a proper agency, which honestly, kind of looking at it, it really wasn't, but not because of the talent, more so because of the weird ass people that's possibly involved because of how much damage they did. And when it comes down to it, between the whole thing with like, you know, how they handled the Nuxtaku situation with the hackers and all that sort of stuff, and just with how other weird stuff kind of went about, you know, certain things with talents in the contracts, and now with this, it really just goes to show that, you know, they were just trying to, you know, keep the talent there, and realistically just kind of just making their money from that and trying to take a little bit extra just to pocket home just because they can. And now with this kind of happening, it very much, I mean, granted, my view of like talent agencies or VTuber agencies have always been in a negative sort of mindset for me, but now it's fully within that mindset, right? Because at this point, I am now fully believing that, granted, I imagine that no one should have their whole faith within a corporation or a company or whatever, because at the end of the day, they're about business, they're about making money. So at the end of the day, you're not that important to that people that runs that business. You're just another dollar sign that, you know, they could possibly pocket within themselves. If this really doesn't teach people that, honestly, at this point, you don't necessarily need to be a part of a VTuber agency, sure, you definitely can be a part of it and you can definitely grow when it comes down to it, but at the end of the day, that talent agency could do some wild shit. And as I said before about, you know, being blind while you are just having all these gifts while drinking that polluted water, you know, that's essentially what we kind of have here. People in these agencies like Niji Sanji and all this sort of stuff getting very much mistreated, while the owners, the whole staff of everything that run behind the scenes is basically being fed well, while their talent is basically working the damn scraps. Kind of like a Final Fantasy 16 sort of situation, outside the fact that's not, I guess kind of somewhat sort of equal, where, you know, the bearers are kind of getting their ass beat by the slave masters and all that sort of stuff. Not the exact sort of phrasing I would use, but to a degree you kind of can get that point. Essentially, basically being misused in some shape and form by their actual skill to hone an audience, by their actual skill of just, creating something for themselves to communities and bringing that money in, only for the overseer to kind of just go out their way to take advantage of that, basically use them for whatever reason that they might want to, just because, again, they're very much seeking that money. Now, granted, I did also watch, Ironmouse's response to all this stuff, and, listen to it. It does very much suck for her on her end, especially with, someone that goes through that whole, like, I don't want to say disease, but like, health issue that she does go through with, because at the end of the day, you just want to help out this very same people that goes through the same thing as you, and that's very much understandable. As I said before, with things like artist appreciation about, and also things about being left behind, it very much sucks, right? It's just not the fun thing to feel, to kind of deal with all the time, and you feel like you're the only one that's alone and all that. But realistically, you're not alone. There are so many other people, and the better and really the good thing is about it is that Ironmouse is at least half the chance to, help out a lot of people when it comes down to it. And the good thing is, it's not breaking her spirit to want to continue to help out a lot of people, so that's really dang good. My thing, and I guess like this only one thing I will say, but I won't go into it too hard, is just that Miss Mousy, please, for the future, and most likely you will know this now, but like, please, for the future, let like more trusted people that you personally actually know, and not business partners, but maybe people that you absolutely know that can work things out for you with your finances, like, take a gander at them, because at the end of the day, letting a company handle finances for you is not the best thing. Granted, I would, at least if you're gonna do that, at least let me look at the finances, see what needs to be solved, and let me see what's going on. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't want a company to take, financial stuff out of my own personal things or whatever, make purchases on their own without my, eyes being there or whatever, right? I would very much like to see what is happening, which, because I ain't gonna lie, when she said that, kind of threw me off just a little bit, because I was taught to, at least for me, I was taught to never trust anybody, especially with something like this. So yeah, but I'm pretty sure she get the gist of it now and understands that. But and that's not me trying to bash, but it's just like that was something I wasn't expecting to hear. But still, regardless, though, again, take a lot of, when it comes to financial stuff, just take that as to your responsibility. It's scary, yes, to give out information and personal information at that, but at the very same time, you don't really do anything without risk. So that's the most I will say about that. But ultimately, though, it is still very much a shitty situation, and at the very same time, I do very much feel for her, though, because at the end of the day, really what she wanted to do was just sit here, try to make friends, maybe gain a community at that, and at the very end of the day, just not necessarily feel like she's alone in this universe, and that's understandable. Again, no one wants to be feeling left behind. And the sadder part is that that very same company where it helped her build such a community and build up such friends, it ended up taking advantage of her and using her for whatever reason and all that sort of stuff. Granted, we don't know the full details of how everything came to be, and hopefully one day she will tell us that. But when it comes down to it, though, it's just kind of a GG's for Vshojo at this point. And it just leaves like a few only other members that is there. I think like what, Kason is there, and Henya and Melody, and now it's just kind of like, all right, so what are these three gonna do? Is they gonna still stick around, or is they gonna dip off immediately, or whatever they're gonna do? Because who really knows? It's just kind of it's just a bad situation all over the place. And if you kind of don't respond to it immediately, then I feel like a lot of people will also turn on you. So again, who really effing knows? But I just want to quickly put this together and talk about that, because it is a messed up situation, and it's unfortunate for, Ironmouse, and pretty much everybody kind of, again, saw the wind was going a different way than what it typically should have been, and that's again probably the reason why so many people were just dipping off of Vshojo initially. Maybe even that point forward, like, because granted, hell, we don't even know when this started to happen, right? This could be a recent thing, this could be an old thing. We don't really know. But at the end of the day, yeah, still regardless, the wind was shifting, and this was probably very much the reason why. If not, there could also be some darker shit that we don't know either. So, we never really know. But hopefully, again, we'll know sometime in the near future. But like I said before, that's really what I wanted to talk about real quick, just to kind of show that, yeah, I've seen it, and yeah, pretty much this should be discussed, because this is about really just like wild as hell to see. But yeah, hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the button like you show on way out. Also follow my socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's your boy Jay, signing off. Have a blessed day.